A better way to pay your UTG fees with instant proof of payment and real-time student portal update. Paying your University of the Gambia fees has never been easier or more convenient. With Ecobank, students, parents and guardians can pay UTG tuition and related fees through our secure digital banking channels such as Ecobank mobile app, Ecobank Online and Ecobank Omni Lite. Once payment is completed, instant proof of payment is generated and the UTG student portal is updated in real time, allowing students to proceed immediately with registration, course selection, and clearance without unnecessary delays, while giving parents and guardians peace of mind that payments have been successfully processed. How to pay via the Ecobank mobile app. Open the Ecobank mobile app and navigate to the home screen. Select Pay Bill. Choose Pay a New Bill and select Schools from the category options. Select University of the Gambia. Select the specific product you are paying for. Enter your matriculation number and tap Continue. Validate your details. The system will display the payable amount. Press Continue to confirm the payment. An e-receipt is generated automatically as proof of payment with real-time updates on the student portal. How to pay via Ecobank Online or Omni Lite. Log in to Ecobank Online and Omni Lite using your credentials. Select the menu and choose Bill Payments. Choose Quick Bill Pay and select School from the category options. Select University of the Gambia. Select the specific product you are paying for. Enter your matriculation number and tap Continue. Validate your details. The system will display the payable amount. Press Continue to confirm the payment. An e-receipt is generated automatically as proof of payment with real-time updates on the student portal. Walk into any Ecobank branch or pay through our digital channels and enjoy instant proof of payment with real-time updates on the student portal. Ecobank, the Pan-African Bank.
Santa Yala.
Nekar, utul wave, nga scan, nga fay, nak doo ci yokku dara.
Jah Oil Company stands tall as a trusted name in energy, keeping the Gambia moving with service stations across the country and a commitment to innovation and reliability. In Farafenni, Jah Group is reshaping our industrial landscape. The Jah Oil Cement Factory can produce up to 100,000 bags a day, reducing imports, creating jobs, and building a stronger Gambia brick by brick. And in the heart of the Central River region, Jah Farming Initiative is cultivating food security. With thousands of hectares under development and modern irrigation, Jah Farming is turning the Gambia's soil into abundance. Jah Group is more than a company. It is a vision of self-sufficiency, resilience, and progress. The Jah Group of companies, investing in industry, agriculture, and energy, building the Gambia's future today. On Monday, the 18th of May, 2026, you're with Coffee Time with Peter Gomez, and our guest is Honorable Lamin Ceesay, member of the National Assembly for the people, the great people of Kiang West. I'd like to visit Kiang, especially Kiang West.
You're welcome.
What is your party's stance on President Barrow's third-term bid, and how do you explain this to your constituents?
My party's stand, of course, aligns with the position of every patriotic Gambian.
Every patriotic Gambian.
Absolutely. Both within and outside this country, who have fought seriously, who have stood on a ring and crossed in different ozons twice over to usher us this dispensation, change of government in 2016. We believe there are principles for which that motivated us to be able to form a united front, to form a coalition, to be able to remove the dictatorship. One of the principles were that we need term limit in this country. We need to have leaders who would come and do their quota, as I quote from President Barrow himself. If you stay too long, you run out of ideas. You have nothing to do again. If you stay too long, you just have to come and do your quota and go and allow other people to come and do their quota. And it is based on that principle. With change of government, the more longer you stay, the more powerful you become as leaders. And we want rules, that is the citizens, to be more powerful than the leaders, because their voices are more powerful than you as a leader. Once you recognize that you stay a limited time. So President Barrow's third term bit undermines the very credibility of our democracy. Democracy does not only mean I have to come here and speak what I want to say, but of course it's about accountability. And if these accountabilities mechanisms are not there, are not in the laws, that means we still have a democracy that is very fragile, a democracy that can be subjected to abuse as it is happening today. So I want to believe that the President Barrow must respect the will and the aspiration of the Gambian people. And every Gambian must stand against that to say no leader, absolutely, should go above 10 years in this country. We have seen President Jawara did in this country. May he so rest in perfect peace. We must recognize the fact that he has fought to ensure that he is able to usher us an independence from the colonial masters. But however, he stayed too long. That is the absolute truth. He stayed too long. And President Jammeh came, promise of 2 years, and couldn't do that one. And he went to 10 years. The 5 years, he went to 10 years, he went to 20 years, he went to 22 years. And President Barrow came, promised of 3 years. He couldn't do that. He went to 5 years, he went to 10 years. And he is now telling us he wants us to give him 15 years. That is absolutely wrong. And every Gambian must against that one. To say every leader in this country, you must come and do your quota within 10 years, and you go and give opportunity to other people to also come and do their quota. And this is what is going to help our democracy. But otherwise, our democracy will be abused. People will be corrupt in this country. They will not be called to order as it is happening today. As I said in other platforms, to say the amount of corruption that is happening in this country is amazing. But the fact is that the Gambians, those who are corrupt in public office, they love it. Those who are not corrupt, who are not directly involved in it, they accommodate it. Our level of tolerance in this corruption is amazing. This is why you have people in this government who are working with President Barrow. Like I always talk about Dahaba, and he may think that I have not even set my eye on Dahaba himself as an individual. But the audit report.
This is the disaster management chief?
Disaster management agency manager.
What about him?
During COVID-19, there was a good worth of $100 million. Rice worth $100 million was not delivered. And all those monies were under his custody. They were not delivered. Oil worth $30 million was not delivered. And audit reports captured that several times. The report of the FPAC, Public Finance and Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly, also shouted about it several times. But this man is still in office and is still working with the President Barrow. He appoints him and he can remove him today. Nothing has been done about it. So he is not serious about, dealing with corruption. So when you have a government that overstates in power, these are some of the issues that you face. People will be corrupt and they will not be called to order, so that those who may want to behave the same way can try to take the cue. So this is why we don't want him to overstay in power, so that they can know that there is a very limit to the time I need to serve in this office. Otherwise, I'm going to be prosecuted one day.
Okay. You don't want him to overstay in power. In other words, you don't want him to win in December to do an additional 5 years, another 5 years, which would, keep him in office for at least 15 years.
Absolutely.
But the Constitution is not on your side. The Constitution is not preventing him from running. So what are the strategies, if any, that, your party has to make sure that he's blocked
Let me begin with the constitution that you've talked about. Of course,
the 1997 constitution.
Yes, of course, you would agree with me.
He's silent on term limits.
Yes, President Barrow is definitely benefiting from the bad laws. Not only bad laws that generally governs the government, but even some other.
He blames people like yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Opposition MPs for throwing out
absolutely
the constitution he put in front of you that would have, set term limits.
In as much as we want term limit, there are other nucleus of the law, that is the constitution, that is accountability. The accountability mechanisms were all removed. We are all removed from that. So this is why the opposition thought that, and even that term limit issue, about the 10 minutes, it was in ambiguity, that it wasn't very much clear as to whether the president, term limit will commence with these 5 years coming, or maybe in the next 5 years coming, which wasn't definitely very much clear. And there are other accountability clauses which were definitely not there. So, the constitution is not just about the term limit, but it engulfs how we want our country to be governed, and in a sustainable manner. So these are some of the things that were removed from the accountability clauses. How do you take care of corruption issues? How do you investigate the president and even his first family and even his allies?
Okay.
To ensure that there is
so
a
because those were not in the constitution they were proposing, the government was proposing, you threw it out.
Absolutely.
The opposition, blocked it.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
So what strategies is the UDP considering to block, his third term bid?
We may not necessarily go out and to say let's block his third term bid, but the strategies we have in place, UDP is law abiding. UDP, is led by people who are lawyers, not just lawyers. We have constitutional lawyers, we have human rights lawyers who are very much conscious about the constitutional provision, and we want to, so long as that constitution stays, no matter how bad the law is, we want to abide by that. However, we are willing, and we are, in fact, on the process, discussing with the opposition parties across the country and interest groups who are interested in removing the government to form a united front, and to also not only form a united front, but to also strike compromise in some of the political interests any group may have, to strike those compromises so that we can meet at a point where we will see the interest of the country to ensure that we remove the incumbent as it happened in 2016. So, and obviously that is going to happen. And that is going to be possible. And he knows that very well. The opposition are going to have a coalition. And coalition is going to be possible.
Is that why he said the opposition, if they are brave, if they want to test, their power, they should stand individually?
Sometimes I think the president forgets so soon. The president came through a coalition in 2016. Through a coalition in 2016.
True.
And he was not the most vibrant opposition amongst those who contested. I want to believe Ahmad Ba is more outspoken, who served at the National Assembly, represented a constituency before joining that coalition. You've talked our veteran politician who has been in the political field even before the birth of United Democratic Party, Honorable Ali Sallah, with all due respect to him, who was also there. Dr. Aissatou Toure, who were doctors who served in the academia, and people know them very well in their various disciplines, were all in the race. But President Barrow emerged victorious because of the number that was behind United Democratic Party. He was not the most vibrant. He was not the most acceptable candidate as far as academic and some other qualities are concerned. But the number he received from the opposition that backed him, that is the United Democratic Party, that earned him that leadership, and he came through coalition. Come to 2021, he came through an alliance with APRC, with NRP, with different political parties. You can name them. With, you say Tijan, GPDP, Henry Gomez. You can also name General Bojang, may his soul rest in perfect peace in Bruford. All those parties came together to back him. So he forgot that he has never won an election alone as a single party. He forgot that. And this is what he must understand, that this country was never changed by a single party in this country from independence to date. President Jawara was overthrown. President Jammeh went out through a coalition. And he won an election in 2021 through an alliance with several political parties. So President Barrow must not forget about these things. And these merits are there, and we do know those things. Despite our different issues as opposition parties, but we are ready to compromise those things, and there are discussions. Alhamdulillah, the people who are leading various opposition parties are very much responsible. And they are trying to compromise those. And inshallah, Rabbi, in the next 2 months, you will see a very big progress in that. And there could probably be an announcement of having a coalition in this country, and people will be working towards how do we tow the length and breadth of this country and sensitize the citizens to ensure that we salvage this country, we rescue our country. And that's actually going to happen.
So people who believe that, because of deep divisions, the opposition will be unable to form a coalition, you're saying those people are wrong?
They're absolutely wrong, 100% wrong. I'm saying that without any fear of contradiction. Okay. They are 100% wrong. Opposition are not going to tell them their position as we speak today. And we have very responsible opposition leaders in this country who are very much responsible in their utterances, in their public appearances, and their public, deliberations. Okay. So this is where they're having discussions. Hussein Dabo is very determined. You talk about Alifa Saleh is very much determined. You talk about Mama Kande is very determined. You talk about Esas Fall is very much determined. And of course, people may take that differently, but I want to believe even UMC, their leader Talib, they are also very much determined to ensure that we have a united front, despite they may have their other political differences. But one principle that we all believe in is that we need to give something to this country. If we cannot deliver change for this country, which means the opposition failed this country. And opposition must not look at their individual selfish interests or their individual party interests, but they must look at the interests of the Gambian people. They must look at how many children died from acute kidney injury, from a medicine that was not tested, about 77 plus children. They must look at 20,000 youths who died in the Mediterranean Sea because they said they rather died in the sea. It's
20,000?
Yes, that's what the government report said. That was presented to the National Assembly. 20,000 young people. There were women among them. There were children among them, pregnant women, boys and girls. They were all there who died in the Mediterranean. They must not forget that Auditor General was forcefully removed from office. They must not forget that, $14 billion was unaccounted for in the previous audit reports. These are all the merits that they must not really forget. They must not forget that the constitution has been thrown away in 2020, which was influenced by the president. They must not forget that the TRRC recommendations are not implemented deliberately by the president because he wants to run for many times. They must not forget that the Janneh Commission recommendations were not implemented by the president, but rather forgiving those who has perpetrated and steal the monies of this country and forgiven by the president just for him to get political support. All these merits are there. All these boxes must be ticked to assess the president. This must be there. But the president must align his development priorities to the needs of these people. But he has failed all the reform agendas in this country. That's the fact.
I want to ask about, opposition National Assembly members and development projects. But you brought up the issue of the TRRC recommendations. And arguing that he has failed to implement those recommendations. So how do you respond to him now receiving the Local Government Commission report and promising to implement its recommendations fully?
It's a big pretense. It's a big pretense and a witch hunt as well.
Witch hunt?
Absolutely. It's a witch hunt because what triggered the establishment of that commission was through National Assembly engagement. National Assembly had an engagement with the local government authorities. Mm-hmm. And of course, there were so many flaws and there were so many malpractice and misconduct in their financial statements, their management letters, and their activities reports. However, when the president saw it and immediately sanctioned the establishment of a commission. But
that sounds good to me. What's the problem?
It must not be a pretense. The commission to investigate financial crimes in this country after the change of government in 2016 commenced with the Janneh Commission. That commenced with the Janneh Commission. What has the president done about that? The report has been shared with the president. And of course, that has not only stopped at those that committed crimes under Jammeh financially, but even you can see the sales and disposal of the assets of the former President Jammeh, which has been forfeited to the state, which has not been done well. And the National Assembly sanctioned, in fact, requested for the reports, the sales reports of that. The government refused to give out that.
Oh.
Of course. But prior to the National Assembly requesting that, there was $22 million unaccounted for under the Ministry of Justice from the sales of the Jammeh assets. $22 million unaccounted for has been highlighted by the audit report, even before the youths rise up. And the youths rose up, marched down the street.
As a gala youth.
Exactly. To say, we want this to come out, which has been requested by the lawmakers. And they refused to share it with us. But when the youth went out to requested for it, eventually they published the report. They published the sales report. And after the National Assembly established a special select committee at some point was a mechanism to die down the atmosphere, to silence the atmosphere. So this is why the president came out to say, let us wait for the report of the National Assembly. But the National Assembly has came out with a recommendation that submitted to reprimand some of the ministers, to investigate some of the crimes, to investigate some of the state ministers. What has the president done about that? Since we brought our recommendation until today, the president is silent about it.
Oh.
The president is silent about it. Until the coming out of this report from the local government commission, he is talking about it. He's not serious about it.
He says he will implement all the findings of this local government commission.
Let's see how he's going to implement when we have the corrupt officers in the NDMA under him. If he is trying to...
That's under the vice president. NDMA is under the vice president. Although you could say the vice president's office is under the office of the president.
Every public office in this country is under the president. He even appoints the NDMA director.
Yes.
He appoints him. He appoints all the, directors of all the agencies, public enterprises, all the governance councils in this country as far as public enterprises.
Would you like that to change if Hussein Odabo becomes president?
That must change. That must change. The president must not have the absolute authority to appoint all of these people, because otherwise they dance to his tune. This is why in the 2020 constitution, draft constitution, what happened is that should be appointed or subjected to the confirmation of the National Assembly, so that we appoint them based on the merits, based on the ability, based on the qualification of these various officers, so that when they come to office, they serve the interests of the people. But they must not say, I have to do this, I have to dance to the tune of the president, otherwise he's going to remove me next morning. This is why he can appoint a minister today and remove you next morning. He can appoint a state-owned enterprise director and remove you next morning. All the, governing councils, he can appoint them today and remove them next morning. It has to change. It has to. The president must not have absolute authority over our laws, over appointments in this country.
And you think Hussein Odabo, if he becomes president, he will have no problem, starting the process of changing all that?
This is why he supports the constitution. And if you listen to some of his deliberations, these were some of the justification he has given to the quality and importance of having the 2020 draft constitution passed. He is ready to do that.
Okay, it's 9:52, meaning that we have at most 8 more minutes. How do you see the Gambia's political and developmental trajectory in the coming years? Let's say the next 5 years.
One thing I do know is that if you want an instant office solution, you will be disappointed. And building a country is very much difficult, especially post-dictatorship era. A post-dictatorship era is very difficult in any country around the world, even in Africa, particularly in Africa. And you would have reform agendas which you are going to work on. And absolutely, some of those reform agendas may not necessarily work with you because of the polarized environment that you may have in the country. So, however, what is more important, I'm very much impressed with the awareness of the young people in this, as we speak today. You have the young people rising up, several groups are rising up, the civil society is rising up to send a clear message to the leadership that you cannot continue to misgovern us. And this is definitely helping our country. So, in the next 20 years to come, we can have a good country. But I am pretty much so that, the destruction that has happened under President Barrow and his government may not be, we cannot be able to fix that in 10 years, which I do know very well. So you are saying 5 years, which is a very short-term agenda. So, but what is important, there should have been an agenda, a development plan that is going to take this country to 50 years or 30 years, that no government should change. No matter what you come with as a party, as a government, you must not change that trajectory. Whenever you come, you must align yourself with that trajectory so that we achieve those things that we want. So there has to be those things. And when United Democratic Party comes in, or when opposition comes in, because we must not only say United Democratic Party, because we believe in the fact that the oppositions must come together. So if there is a change of government, there has to be a plan that will take this country to 50 years. That 50 years plan will help us to envision longer to ensure that we reduce our debt. Look at our debt to GDP is the worst today. Okay. Yes, GRA is collecting a lot, but what they are collecting, does it reflect on the lives and livelihood of the people of the Gambia? Does it reflect on what people put here? That is the most important thing. When people get to the health centers, what they pay, it must reflect on all of those things. It must reflect on the quality of education. How many young people graduate from universities and how many of them are consumed in the workforce? It must reflect on all of those things. It must reflect on our agriculture. If you look at the tractors that we have bought, 180 tractors that we have budgeted in 2023, how many of them are delivered? The government still cannot tell us how many of them are, and that is in hundreds of millions. We must definitely try to see all of that. So there has to be a vision that takes us to 50 years as a country, and every, party that comes in as a government must align yourself with that and follow those priorities to, with the realities of the climate change, with the realities of the, dynamics of the globe. You must align yourself with that to ensure that we attain that. Otherwise, any government that comes in will try to get these, flimsy excuses, getting developments in a fragile manner, that stops at the periphery, not really into the depth that touches on the lives and livelihood of the people. So for me, in the 5 years to come, we could not do much because a lot has been destroyed after the change of government in 2016. No reform has been implemented well. We have not achieved none of those reforms. The security sector reform, of course, you can see. You can see the 2 security officers died, shot to death at the line of duty. And of course, you have seen, a young girl who was murdered in Busumbala or some area, and the private part was removed. And of course, you have seen so many people who were attacked and killed in this country. So the security sector reform does not only mean, give allowances to security people. It doesn't only mean that, but motivation.
So among yourselves, the opposition, you're trying to coalesce. So it's all cool and dandy. We're not hearing, UDP go against APP, Sobea and all of that. But opposition and ruling party, the rhetoric is becoming scary. We've heard the NPP point the finger at Yankuba Dabo, Brikama Area Council Chair, allegedly saying that change does not happen until blood is spilled. So to them, he's calling for violence. And we are also now, your boss in the National Assembly, the Deputy Speaker, saying nasty things against an ethnic group. So the political rhetoric, it needs to be toned down, doesn't it?
That is a tricky question, isn't it? It's of course a tricky question. But however, do I align myself with any of them, starting from Yankuba, with all due respect to him, coming down to the Deputy Speaker, those remarks, I think one must be very much responsible and cautious of what we say in the government.
So politicians need to be...
politicians must be very much careful.
Because
I want to remind myself and anybody who is on the United Democratic Party to say, when 2021, after election, when people went to Hussein Dabo's compound and said, we must go out because we don't believe in results, the election was rigged. He told them, I don't want to jump blood to go to State House. I want all of you as young people to get married and have children who will inherit a better Gambia, who will not inherit a history like that of Rwanda. But we must inherit a system in a more responsible and to be law-abiding as we march towards changing the government. So all of us must be responsible and believe in that. However, we had a change of government in 2016 because some people have sacrificed to go to prison. And that is not only peculiar to the Gambia, but there were so many countries in Africa who had a change of government because some people sacrificed to be imprisoned, to be beaten, to go, to lose properties, to sometimes even lose lives, to be able to give us a better country. But however, those are unforeseen circumstances. We never expected that when the United Democratic Party leaders went out in April 2015, in April 2016, there was going to be a casualty that like Solo Sunday. We never expected that Solo was going to die in that horrible manner. May his soul rest in perfect peace.
Amen.
But however, we don't want that to happen again in this country. And we don't think that is going to happen because of the ordinary Gambians, but that is going to happen because of the public officials. Of course, you have seen what the Deputy Speaker said. You have seen what Demba Sabali said, saying, "Ajarata nyele nga yellow bong, ajarata nyele yellow e bong." Poor President Barrow yet to in power for us to win election.
Was he not responding to your...
Even before Yankuba said so. Even before Yankuba said so.
Oh, Demba Sabali said this
of
first?
Of course, Demba said so even before Yankuba said so.
So Yankuba was probably responding to Demba Sabali.
Absolutely. Yankuba said the same. Do you understand? So there must not be, justice must touch on everybody. But all of these people must be responsible. Because we, the young people who are in the United Democratic Party, what of may our party leader live longer? We hope that we see him in front of the governance come after next election. But however...
On the 6th of November.
Absolutely.
Sorry, December.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But however, when he was questioned, are you going to run again after are you going to run again if you win this election? Are you going to run again in 2031? He said, I'm not even sure if I'm going to run in 2026 December. I'm not even sure if I'm going to run. And he said so because he do believe in the realities of human life.
Absolutely.
So we are the young people who are expected to lead the party whenever we don't have these leaders there. So we must be responsible. We must be responsible in our public interactions. We must be responsible in our public utterances. So however, I urge everybody to be able to align ourselves with the laws. But having said all of that, we are very much resistant to ensure that there is no abuse in public office. This is why even me, I went out when they rearrested Usainu Bojang. I went out, and that was criticized by the government leaders. I went out to say the government violated the constitution. The constitution doesn't donate any government to rearrest somebody. The government, the laws does not donate you that power to do that. So once you do that one, that is now called kidnapping. That is not an arrest. So you have violated the constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. So you have no moral authority to ask anybody to accept an act of the National Assembly when you violated the constitution. So when the government does that, we will go out boldly to send a clear message to the government that we are going to against that. If you violate the constitution, we will violate the Public Order Act to go and protest without a permit. If you kill us in that place, and of course that is what should happen. If you arrest us, we expect that. If you torture us, we expect that. So the government must also expect that too.
Okay.
If we receive, a blood in that place, that's what we should receive, of course.
Right.
But we are not calling that, there has to be a bloodshed before we have a change of government.
It's after 10 already, but every politician who comes here is given a final 2 minutes to address the viewer. So there's your camera over there.
Thank you so much, Uncle Peter, and all your colleagues who have contributed to the success of this session that I have had with you. And I want to thank of course, people from Kia West constituents and for giving me this opportunity, because public office and public service is the greatest honor that any citizen should have. And of course, I have not, yet have a lot, as at an individual level in terms of, pursuing my academic dreams and having individual wealth, but the respect that I have from the community and the honor that I have received from the public in this country is quite amazing, and I definitely love it. So I'm enjoying the visibility, in my constituency and in the country, and it is helping me to thrive a lot. However, I want to tell everybody that there is a time to change a government, and this change of government doesn't mean that we have a problem with Barrow's personality or with any individual within his government, but we have a problem with the way he governs this country and his refusal to implement the recommendations of our reform agendas that we have in this country, and the amount of corruption that is happening, and his interference in the independent institutions like the National Assembly and like the National Audit Office, and attack on the audit reports and the high youth unemployment rate in this country. So these are some of the reasons that we are calling for change. So however, I'm telling each and every one of you, particularly the oppositions, let's join together. Let's stop attacking each other. Let's focus on the agenda. We have only one agenda, that is to remove this government. We have no interest in how, UMC is doing things or how others are doing things. Our problem is governance. How governance is going in this country, how government is dealing with our public resources, how lives and livelihood of this country, is being managed by the government. This is what we need to confront to ensure that we have a change of government. And the young people, please. And so if you don't have your card, that is your visa to be able to vote, you go and grab your card to ensure that we are able to vote, legitimately. The most democratic means of changing the government is through election. This is why we have an election every 5 years to ensure that we change the government. If Gambians express the views that we still want President Barrow, so be it. That is the will of the Gambian people. But if you want to attain the will of the people of this country, that is not true. Rigging elections, the election cycle begins from registration. It does not start from voting. It begins from registration. So if there is, fraud in terms of registration, that undermines the very credibility of our election. So I want to tell the government that you be very responsible and responsive in dealing with, the needs of this country and our affairs. So however, there is need to change this government. I only hope that the government is going and they know they are going. Yeah. And I want to believe that they are going. Yeah. And we're ready to go out there to ensure we change the government this time around.
Thank you, Honorable Ceesay.
A better way to pay your UTG fees with instant proof of payment and real-time student portal update. Paying your University of the Gambia fees has never been easier or more convenient. With Ecobank, students, parents and guardians can pay UTG tuition and related fees through our secure digital banking channels such as Ecobank mobile app, Ecobank online and Ecobank Omni Lite. Once payment is completed, instant proof of payment is generated and the UTG student portal is updated in real time, allowing students to proceed immediately with registration, course selection, and clearance without unnecessary delays, while giving parents and guardians peace of mind that payments have been successfully processed. How to pay via the Ecobank mobile app. Open the Ecobank mobile app and navigate to the home screen. Select Pay Bill, choose Pay a New Bill, and select Schools from the category options. Select University of the Gambia. Select the specific product you are paying for. Enter your matriculation number and tap Continue. Validate your details. The system will display the payable amount. Press Continue to confirm the payment. An e-receipt is generated automatically as proof of payment with real-time updates on the student portal. How to pay via Ecobank Online or Omni Lite. Log in to Ecobank Online and Omni Lite using your credentials. Select the menu and choose Bill Payments. Choose Quick Bill Pay and select School from the category options. Select University of the Gambia. Select the specific product you are paying for. Enter your matriculation number and tap Continue. Validate your details. The system will display the payable amount. Press Continue to confirm the payment. An e-receipt is generated automatically as proof of payment with real-time updates on the student portal. Walk into any Ecobank branch or pay through our digital channels and enjoy instant proof of payment with real-time updates on the student portal. Ecobank, the Pan-African Bank.
sant yàlla.
looy xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay te nag doo ci yokku dara.
Jah Oil Company stands tall as a trusted name in energy, keeping the Gambia moving with service stations across the country and a commitment to innovation and reliability. In Farafenni, Jah Group is reshaping our industrial landscape. The Jah Oil Cement Factory can produce up to 100,000 bags a day, reducing imports, creating jobs, and building a stronger Gambia brick by brick. And in the heart of the Central River region, Jah Farming Initiative is cultivating food security. With thousands of hectares under development and modern irrigation, Jah Farming is turning the Gambia's soil into abundance. Jah Group is more than a company. It is a vision of self-sufficiency, resilience, and progress. The Jah Group of companies, investing in industry, agriculture, and energy, building the Gambia's future today.